Welcome on to a new feature here on Dunc'd On. We're going to talk about the Miami Heat offense. It has been the rage of the league with their incredible pace, the improvements that they've made under consultant Noah LaRoche, and of course, head coach Eric Spoelstra, who is a master at drilling principles. So we're going to get into all of that. I want to remind everyone to give us a like and subscribe, and also a comment if you have any thoughts on this Heat offense, whether it's going to sustain, how you think it should be stopped. Let us know down there. And let's get rolling here with this discussion about what exactly the Miami Heat are doing early in this season offensively. They are now 3-3. They've had a couple of blowout wins, including, ironically, over the Memphis Grizzlies, who have been a bit of a muse for Eric Spoelstra and his staff because they are not doing any pick and rolls. They are even lower in terms of pick and rolls and using screens than the Memphis Grizzlies were a season ago. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's interesting. It does kind of sound like Memphis. And it did come out. Tim Bontemps reported on Friday that Grizzlies guru Noah LaRoche, who actually was a behind the bench coach for them last year, had instituted this new system where it was a ton of pace, a ton of driving, very few interactions between players. Instead, it's cutting, it's giving guys space to operate, and it's going one-on-one, and it's doing it, most importantly, with a ton of pace. So let's take a look then at what we have from them statistically and how it has changed. Danny, last year, how did they look in terms of their overall pace, according to our friends at inpredictable.com?
They were very slow. So they were 28th overall, which is third slowest. And they were slow coming after a make. They were 24th there. They were 26th after a miss. And there's not as much variant off of a turnover, but they were second slowest off of a turnover. So they were really slow in all of the different facets of offensive pace.
Yeah, 24th last year. It took them 15.8 seconds to get a shot after a make and 10.5 seconds after a bottom of the league. So this year, that has improved by a ton. The Miami Heat now are right at the top of the league in all of those stats, top 3 in every possession type in terms of their average time to shot. And this, I thought, as I watched the film later, was something that stood out a lot. So if you look at our friends at Cleaning the Glass, they measure transition in terms of the percentage of plays. I think it's 6-7 seconds after the shot clock starts is considered transition. They only measure after a miss and after a turnover. And they're only 6th by their metrics and only 11th in running by Cleaning the Glass in terms of a technical fast break within a certain number of seconds after the other team misses a shot. So they're 11th there. They're 6th in terms of their percentage of their plays in transition, which is good, but not amazing. Here, though, per our friends at Sport Radar, is where it really stands out. They keep a stat that measures when on the shot clock you cross half court.
Ooh.
They are 4th in crossing half court within 2 seconds of the shot clock starting. They do that 31% of the time. By the time the shot clock's at 22, it's over half court. And then they are 3rd in the next tranche of 2 seconds. So overall, 81% of the time. And this is after anything. This is even after a dead ball, which is something that stuck out to me on the film as well. Even after a dead ball, when you put in everything, 81% of the time, the Miami Heat have crossed half court by the time 20 seconds remain on the shot clock. And that also actually has an advantage too. We've seen other teams try to speed up by pressing. Well, if you get the ball over half court really fast, if you run, if you get organized, you get the ball in bounds really quickly. If you get the ball up floor to the next guy after a miss along the sideline, for example, now the other team can't set up their press. So that's pretty fascinating. The other thing, so that's the transition aspect, which I actually think is maybe more important than what they're doing in the half court, but they feed into each other. Then the crazy numbers. Sport Radar, this is hand tracked. Miami has finished only 47 possessions by the pick and roll ball handler. Watching their game against the Lakers today, a lot of those just came out of ATOs after free throws, just called plays. A lot of times they're not calling any plays at all. They're just running their offense. That 47 possessions, that is exactly half the 94 of the next lowest team, which is the Houston Rockets. Yeah. So that is really, really low. They're also, interestingly, third in shots where the action started with a post-up. Most of those, though, are guys just dribbling into post-ups. They're basically kind of isolations as well. So, and then in terms of what's getting set up by the pass, they're basically about average. They're 17th in the percentage of shots that are coming via a potential assist. All right, how is this actually manifesting itself on the basketball floor? After makes, the first guy that I saw to really do this in my lifetime, because when I first started becoming a basketball fan, the game ground to a halt in the 90s, was Steve Nash. And Davion Mitchell, not known as a speed demon Steve Nash type of point guard before this season, is the guy who does it. When they inbound the ball, it's almost always to a guy who has momentum moving up the floor. And then if there is somebody who's open on the right wing or the left wing, they will throw it to him immediately, even if he's not quite over half court yet. That's very often Andrew Wiggins or Jaime Jaquez, and I'm sure it'll be Norm Powell when he returns from this groin issue, because the entire point of what they want to do is get the ball over half court quickly, right? Within 2 seconds, within 4 seconds, before the defense is set up, before the opponent has their rim protector in position. Maybe that rim protector went for an offensive rebound. Maybe he's just kind of jogging back. Maybe he's worried about Bam Adebayo at the 3-point arc. And so if you can bring the ball up, get it onto the wing, get the ball below their rim protector, they have these guys where you're like, oh man, they're not really that fast, right? They don't have that traditional push it up point guard the way Memphis with John Morant did, or even they don't even have a point guard with like Scottie Pippen Jr.'s pedigree as a pure point guard. But they get it to guys who might have a speed advantage, right? Jaime Jaquez has totally revolutionized his game this year by just dribbling up the court really fast, using his physicality. The opponent is probably not going to be putting their best defensive player on him, but one of him or Wiggins or Nikola Jovic is going to have an advantage. And this is the perfect way to play, given the way that the league works now, where driving to the basket, it's not as much about speed as it used to be. It's really more about power and the ability to change direction and handle the ball. And one of these guys is going to be going up against someone who can't quite handle him physically. And the way it is now, you can use the off arm, you can shoulder guys out of the way. It's a very rare defender who can actually just get in one-on-one and take a charge, particularly because most of these defenses are not meant to just square up the ball anymore, right? They're meant to send them somewhere because you just don't feel like you can actually stay in front of a guy. And so the defense is like, oh yeah, we're going to send him towards the baseline. That's what we're going to do. We're going to, the usual principles, we'll come over, we'll trap the box. But they got the ball up so fast that nobody's there. Or maybe then they have forced help and now they can kick out and they can do the next drive. Adebayo has been really huge on a lot of these plays because you're seeing that the big isn't really involved. He's getting the ball with spot ups and he's now taking 3-pointers, but also he's able to attack off the dribble. You saw that huge dunk that he had on Wembanyama in that situation, for example. And when they do interact with someone, they're doing it really just to get that next guy in isolation. It's not really a screen. You're not trying to hit the guy at all. You're just, maybe you cause a little confusion by getting close to the other guy, but it's more of a pitch than a handoff, really. And it's a pitch to get the other guy the ball with momentum. There's no kind of slow down. I'm going to set the screen and then, maybe the guy's going to switch onto him. No, everything is about moving it quickly, getting it to someone with space, with an advantage, with some momentum going towards the basket, and then driving and getting the churn going that way. And then when they move it, again, you're not going to flow into a pick and roll on the weak side. It's get out of his way. We're going to cut along the baseline one way or the other, space things out. They have shooters now. Simone Fontecchio has been reborn there as well. And when Powell comes back, he's going to look great in this system as well. And there are certain teams that are going to match up against a lot better. I thought the Lakers did a decent job of defending them tonight. The Charlotte Hornets had no chance against them, right?
Oh,
Because, I mean, you think of Charlotte, right? Like, who are their perimeter defenders, Danny?
they're very limited, and even
Yeah.
like they haven't even had some of the like Josh Green, who we think is a little overrated. He hasn't even been available for them, so it's an extremely limited group. They're starting typically Sexton and LaMelo Ball, so it is not the most robust group. And I'm also really excited to see how Tyler Hero functions within this offense.
Yeah. And that will be interesting too, because he'll be willing to take shots off the dribble as well. And guys are going to have to deal with him. Like, it will be kind of interesting though, because he's been more of a pick and roll player. And he will be very good pushing the ball and attacking down the right wing. But Desmond Bane was someone who this system wasn't necessarily the best fit for him. We could talk about him a little bit more when we talk about the Magic later on. But Desmond Bane, he's not really getting open coming off of screens. He's not a great, incredibly physical driver. So we saw in Memphis last year, who was this good for? It was great for Jaren Jackson. You can't handle him one-on-one. Santi Aldama really thrived, right? Either as a spot-up guy or someone you had to close down. And then he really improved his drive game, some of his Euro step game as well. So Wiggins and, Pella Larson is another physical driver on this team. Jaquez, and Bam as well. Those are the guys who I think have really benefited the most, who are just strong guys who want to drive hard to the basket. Now, we did see also that Memphis's effectiveness declined throughout the year. Maybe some of that was John Morant expressing his displeasure that it basically didn't beat a good team through the second half of the season until they moved on from Jenkins and, of course, Nola Roche as well. The other thing, too, is just that rim protection is going to cause problems for these guys. And Victor Wembanyama, for example, I thought this was interesting. He'd had 15 ISO possessions against the Hornets, who they could just go right through, and the Hornets don't have great rim protection. And against Wembanyama, they had 5 because they just weren't able to finish the play in an isolation. They were forced to kick out, and they only were 13 of 22 at the rim against San Antonio. But I also think it's no surprise that in that game, Victor Wembanyama played almost 40 minutes, which is way more than they would like to play him, because the Spurs don't have a backup center of note. And without Wembanyama, they would have just been really, really vulnerable to this driving attack. And so to me, if you're defending this, you got to get your big back. I think that's really huge. And I think you also really want to try to take away those hit-ahead passes along the sideline. Even if it's after a miss, you want to be prepared there. And but really, it's having the big back that's important, because so many of these plays, and now it's a little harder because Adebayo is spacing out and he's a threat at the arc. But you can't just let them come down, go one-on-one. Like Davion Mitchell is another guy who's really good. Like, he's a really physical guard. He's been great getting to the basket since he joined the Heat a little bit ago. You can't let them get to the basket and not have help there. Like, you need to actually be able to play your base defense and have your help principles, and also, frankly, not get sucked in. If your guy kind of vacates the area a little bit, you got to stay in your help principles. But it is hard to do against this offense, and Miami has really revolutionized what they've done. I can't wait to see where it goes here. But kudos for Eric Spoelstra and company to see what took place in Memphis. Even though Nola Roche got fired, his system worked. And I think there will be more tweaks to it as time comes along, and obviously as Hero joins this group. So the Miami Heat are very interesting going forward. Well, there you have it. Please give us a like and subscribe again, or a comment on this or anything else at NBA you want to talk about. We're going to be doing this every week for the 15 and 60 on YouTube, a video accompaniment to our breakdowns with stats and film. So again, like and subscribe here to this channel if you want to see more of these, and we'll talk to y'all next week.